Okay, so again, we're going to run this through exactly as Abraham Zapruder saw it in the lens of his camera.
It's the first of the digital versions and is shown without the images between the sprocket holes. The framing is the standard format.
See him waving just before the sign.
This is a replay of the standard format version, this time in slow motion.
I'm not trying to be gross, but this is important you see this. Now you're going to see the president wave just before he goes behind the sign. This is the turn onto Elm Street here. There's the sign that's the problem for us. President is right here. See him wave right there before the sign as he comes out of the sign. Right there, his hands are up to his throat. Now the question becomes, has Connally been hit yet? That's a good question. Looks like he gets hit there to me, but,
yeah, that's when he looks back.
But I mean, this is a little gross, but this is an incredible impact here. See Mrs. Kennedy running to the back of the limousine, Clint Hill jumping on.
The images between the sprocket holes could only be seen on slides of the original film. This is the first time that those images can be seen as part of a motion sequence. Zapruder frame numbers are also displayed for research purposes.
Okay, what they're seeing here is you're seeing this here. For the first time, you're seeing stuff outside the sprocket of the camera. Okay, so here we go.
This is a replay with the images between the sprocket holes, this time in slow motion.
There's a little girl that'll be running, and as soon as the first shot's fired, she stops. I'll show you here. Keep an eye on this little girl running right here. See her in the red pants? So she's running and I think she stops at the first shot. Okay, here's Jean Hill, the lady in red we talked about, right? Here's Mary Mormon, who took the photograph from behind on the impact of the third shot. She has her camera up to her face here. You can see obviously that Connally's been hit and he's fallen into the back of his wife's arms. Mrs. Kennedy's hand is right here, and just look how close her face is to the president's.
This version tracks the limousine and maintains President Kennedy and Governor Connally at center frame. This version is only in slow motion.
Okay, now pay attention. Here's the president, here's Governor Connally. See if you can tell if they were hit with the same bullet. See the president waving there? We haven't come to the sign yet. We go behind the sign. And this is unfortunate in American history that this sign was in the way of the camera. But you'll see that as soon as he comes out behind this sign, you're going to see both hands to his throat. Now, my question is Connally hit now or not? Doesn't look like it, does it? And that's the only problem I have with the Warren Commission is I really do not think he was hit with that first shot. He said he wasn't either, but he's looking kind of straight ahead. The president's hands are coming to his throat without question at this point, and Mrs. Kennedy's looking kind of puzzled. Now, does it look like maybe he's hit now?
Yeah.
Mouth's open. He starts to fall back. The president's still clutching his throat. Mrs. Kennedy trying to figure out what's happening. Again, look how close her face is to his. Here's Mary Moorman, a lot easier shot of her camera. This is Jean Hill, the lady in red. See the yellow roses flying. Mrs. Kennedy running back. Glenn Hill getting on the limousine.
This version zooms in on the image as much as possible without causing deterioration. President Kennedy is kept at center frame. This is only in slow motion.
Again, look at Connally and Kennedy here. You can make up your own mind on this. Here he's waving, going to go behind the sign. Boom, he's out. Isn't that just incredible? Now, this is kind of gross, but I want to make a point. This, a lot of people think this is the top of President Kennedy's head here. That is Jackie's shoulder, which tells you this entire part of his head is gone. And you can see the flap from his skull here and his ear here. Okay, as gross as that is, I mean, can you understand why people were so, I don't even know how to explain it, just so saddened by this? This wasn't just the assassination of a president. This was a brutal assassination of a president in which that third and fatal shot basically shot off the entire side of his skull. So obviously when he got to Parkland Hospital, you can probably understand a little bit more of why Mrs. Kennedy was very apprehensive to have him taken in under those conditions. So it makes a little bit more sense. Now I want you to take out your handout that you have on the Zapruder film, and I want to just go through this with you. I want to save you a little bit of note-taking, but I want you to kind of understand what this poor Abraham Zapruder went through. Now, as I mentioned, there were many people filming the motorcade that day in downtown Dallas, but the only full recording of the assassination, which you just saw, was filmed by Abraham Zapruder, a dress manufacturer in Dallas. And the morning of November 22nd, 1963, Zapruder arrived at his place of business at the Dow Tex building in downtown Dallas, which was near the Dallas County Courthouse and near the Texas School Book Depository. It was directly across the street from the Texas School Book Depository. Now, when Zapruder arrived at work that morning, he did not bring his 8mm Bell & Howell movie camera with him. And his assistant, Marilyn Stitzman, convinced him to go home and get his camera so he could film the event to later show his children and grandchildren. Can you imagine if he would have made the decision not to go back home? We'd have nothing. Nothing at all. Okay, he took her advice and went and got the camera. This is an exact replica of the camera that Abraham Zapruder used. It took me a long time to find this darn thing, but I will show it to you. It is an 8mm Bell & Howell. Basically, you wound the thing, you took this up and you wound up the film, and then you pushed the button and looked in this viewfinder, and it filmed the entire assassination. Now, I will show you this if I can. Well, I don't know if I can get the darn thing open, but the film is inside here. And you can see what the film looked like. It was 8mm film. And the film is down on the bottom. You can see how it's brought through there. I just assume we not mess with this too much when I pass around, but you can see the 8mm film, and you can see the sprocket holes, can you not? See the sprocket holes in there? And that's what you saw in the film. But anyway, this is the camera. You focused it like this. It was just as simple as this. You push the button and it ran the film. And this is the exact camera that he used that day. Okay? Now, when he watched this thing, I mean, it was unbelievable. We'll kind of go back from there. When he got back from home, Zapruder asked Marilyn Sitzman to go with him to Dealey Plaza to see the President and First Lady. And in Dealey Plaza, he positioned himself on top of a 4-foot concrete block on that grassy knoll. And I stood on it. I took Blake Kroger. He stood on it. It's a very good place to get a film there. Well, this position overlooked Dealey Plaza towards Elm Street, where the President's motorcade would travel on its way to the Stemmons Freeway. So if I'm standing on this 4-foot abutment here, I'm looking this way, and I'm looking, I mean, you can't get a better angle of the President coming down Elm Street. You had the best position ever. Well, the reason he took Sitzman was for a couple of reasons. One, he wanted her to go with to see the President, First Lady, and secondly, Abraham Zapruder suffered from vertigo, and he would get dizzy on elevated ground. So Marilyn Sitzman actually kind of stood behind him on the pillar and kept him from falling over. Well, as the President's limousine approached, he filmed the entire thing, and if you can imagine, watch that through the eye hole of that particular camera. And he was very, very shaken when he left and went back to his office. Well, on the way to his office, he ran into a fellow by the name of Harry McCormick, who was a reporter for the Dallas Morning News, and Zapruder told McCormick about what he had just filmed, and he arranged to meet with the reporter back at his office at the Daltex building. Well, before meeting Zapruder, McCormick informed Forrest Sorrells, remember he was in the lead car, the head of the Dallas branch of the Secret Service, about the fact that Zapruder had a film. And after Zapruder arrived back to the office, his business partner, Irvin Schwartz, called the office to talk about the news of the President's assassination. And Schwartz was told by the secretary that the police were in the office with shotguns looking for the film. And she continued to tell Schwartz that Zapruder had ordered her to lock the film in the office safe, because he knew he had something that maybe nobody else had. Well, Schwartz, his business partner, then asked the secretary to put him through to Abraham Zapruder on the telephone because he was in his office. And when Schwartz began to speak to his partner, Zapruder was crying, and he stated to Schwartz, "Oh, Irwin, it was terrible. I saw his head come off." Both Forrest Sorrells, the Secret Service agent, and Harry McCormick, the guy from the Dallas Morning News, then came into Zapruder's office and retrieved the film from the safe. The three men took the film to a nearby television station to have it developed. At the television station, now you got to remember this is the exact same day, just after the assassination. At the television station, it was discovered that only the Kodak Photo Company could develop the film, and because of that, McCormick used his connections with the media and made arrangements with Kodak to develop that film. Once the film was developed and viewed as you saw it today, 3 copies were made. The FBI took one, the Secret Service took one, and Abraham Zapruder took one. And Zapruder also kept the original. Well, after the film was developed, a guy by the name of Richard Stoley, who was a representative from Life magazine, viewed the film, and Stoley asked Zapruder about the possibility of purchasing it for Life so they could have the copyright to it. Well, since Stoley was the first person from the media to ask about the purchase, Life was given the first opportunity by Zapruder to purchase the film. Now, Stoley's first offer was $5,000, but Zapruder knew what he had was pretty important. He knew it was worth a lot more than that. And when negotiations reached the $50,000 figure, this is 1963, Stoley had to call his superiors in New York to find out if he could spend that much. Well, by noon on Saturday, November 23rd, Life magazine had bought the print rights only for 2 payments of $25,000. That didn't mean they got the film, just had the ability to print it. Well, Stoley received the camera original and another copy of the film for that $50,000, and the original film was taken to Chicago, where Life magazine was published at the time. Well, the copy was then soon sent to New York, which was the business headquarters of Life. And on Sunday, November 24th, the publisher of Life magazine, C.D. Jackson, watched the 26-second film. And after viewing the horrific film, he decided the American public was not ready to see such a sight. And just so you know, no one saw that like you saw it today until 1975. And the only way that C.D. Jackson could make sure that the American public didn't see that film was to buy the motion picture rights as well. All he had was the print rights. So C.D. Jackson instructed Stoley to buy the motion picture rights from Zapruder. Stoley then called Zapruder that evening asking to purchase the motion picture rights to the film. The two agreed to meet Monday morning, November 25th, to discuss the negotiations, and Life offered Zapruder another $100,000 for all rights to the film. He agreed, so he got $150,000 from Life magazine, Time Life company, for this. And with that, C.G. Jackson had the right to keep that from the American public because he just thought it was so horrific that anybody should see it. And no one saw it publicly on television until 1975, 12 years later. So that was the impact that you had on this film. That tells you about the Zapruder film in a nutshell. You know, keep those notes because you want to have those. But anybody have any comments about what you saw? Go ahead, Dick.
One, at the beginning when we watched the video, I thought like the last part of it showed like as soon as you see him like start raising his hand so to start, you can see Connery like sitting there and he kind of goes like that and like jolts.
Maybe.
Maybe probably like that. And then I looked it up and $150,000 back then is $1.2 million.
Sure, that's good to know. I love you for doing that. I'm going to write that down. 1.2 million is what it amounted to. Okay, now, you got to remember that Zapruder kept a copy of that for himself. Yes.
Zapruder film?
Betcha.
Back.
Yeah.
To the right or to the left, I can't remember. Can I borrow Borovats for a second?
Yeah, you can. Bailey?
Big deal.
Are there any like documentations or pictures of like Kennedy afterwards that they had to take?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you autopsy photos. What did you have? How come? I think that's a good question. Here's a good question. She said, why did they decide to let people see it after 12 years? A couple reasons. One is a New Orleans district attorney by the name of James Garrison actually opened up an investigation many years later and tried to pin the conspiracy assassination on a guy by the name of Clay Shaw. He wrote a book called On the Trail of the Assassins. I think it's all kind of a bunch of crap. But anyway, he actually took this Clay Shaw to court, and they viewed the Zapruder film in the court hearings in which they did not convict Clay Shaw. Secondly, there was starting to be some, right away, people accepted it. But when the Warren Commission came out, the conspiracy theorists started kind of going crazy, and then that's when there was more pressure, and we'll talk about this later, because the House of Representatives actually reopened this investigation in 1976 to talk about this again, and that's when the film became more public because of those two things. So, I don't know, it's a tough thing, but it's pretty graphic, but it shows exactly what we talked. Mrs. Kennedy running back. This is the picture of Mary Moorman I wanted to show you. Hopefully we have enough time to get this around. But here's Mary Moorman then and now, and here's the picture she took at the impact of the third shot. This top picture, that's the Mary Moorman photo.
So, you know how we watched, was it Friday we watched that video of Mrs. Kelsey? And
Yeah.
she was talking and we were like trying to use that as something so to say. Well, I remember she said that Conley looked both ways over her shoulder and couldn't see him, and I said to her, how could you not have seen it? But she didn't. He didn't. He only looked this way and then turned all the way and then
Yeah.
because he was like it. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
don't understand that.
You guys that weren't here Friday, I'm going to re-show those. We showed an interview with Mrs. Conley 35 years after the fact that she talked about it. It's pretty good. We'll show you that again. But anyway, this is a tough thing, and there are other movies shown in Daily Plaza that day. Several people took movies, including a little 13-year-old girl by the name of Tina Towner. She took a movie too, but nobody had these shots. Yeah.
So like, I was confused because you said that like Clinton would react until she started like climbing up the back to the stage. But he was already behind the car before.
Well, he reacted when the shots were fired, but they were just bang, bang, bang. And then you got to remember that his reaction time and then the falling off, but he was there pretty close, but she didn't, you know, when he was hit, she pushed him back and then went to the back. But all this, these shots happen in 6 seconds. So you're looking at about a 10, 12-second window from first shot to Clint Hill on top of the limousine. Went pretty fast. So you're probably right on that. But anyway, quite a film, and it's the most, probably the most watched film in the history of this country. And so, let's see. I don't. I really don't. What time does this period end? Anybody know? 19? 17? Well, I want to show you some. I want to show you some pictures.